This NBA season, we've seen teams rise in the standing and take over their respective conferences. We've seen teams fall and fail to the bottom, and we've seen teams kind of sit in the middle of the pack with confusion. However, there's one team that often succeeds and never gets any of the credit or attention. This team has made 3 conference finals in the last 4 seasons and made 2 NBA finals in the last 4 seasons. They now have a rookie who is extremely skilled that no one is talking about, paired with 3 stars that are having career years. This is the Miami Heat. Before we get into this video, guys, we are uploading every single day for the month of December, so if you're new here and enjoy NBA related content, please be sure to consider hitting that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get straight into this video talking about the Miami Heat. They usually aren't discussed much as they kind of just coast through the regular season. There's a big narrative that Jimmy Butler just turns it on towards the postseason and doesn't give a big effort during the regular season. On paper, the roster is not as great or as laid out as well as the other contenders and super teams we see out east and out west. However, this season they're seemingly taking things a little bit more seriously off the rip, as last season, yes, they did go to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, but it took many more games to get there as they had to grit their way through the play-in tournament. I would assume that Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat would like to avoid that this season. Right now, they're well into the playoff picture, as at the time of recording this video, they're the 5 seed with an 11-8 record. Even with the injuries that they have faced thus far, Tyler Hero has missed 11 out of the 19 games with an ankle injury. Jimmy Butler has missed 5 out of the 19 games with an ankle injury, and Bam Adebayo has had hip and ankle injuries that have caused him to miss only 4 games this season. Injuries aside, we've seen great things from this big 3 from a statistical standpoint. First and foremost, Bam Adebayo is having a career year in field goal attempts, which is something that Heat fans, and myself included, have wanted to see for a very long time. Just more aggression from him, especially on nights where Jimmy and Tyler aren't playing. There's no reason he shouldn't be getting 20 to 25 points. We've always wanted to see him just be a natural 20 and 10 kind of guy with the elite level defense that he possesses. We're seeing exactly that, as he's averaging 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, and a steal, while also shooting by far a high career percentage in the 3-point category. Then we have Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero, who are also averaging 20 plus points a game on great splits themselves. Jimmy looks more active to start the season as an on-the-court leader and a facilitator for this team, while in the few games that Tyler Hero has played, he looks to be really polished on the offensive side of things. There's growth with this team that can't be measured by the stat sheet, but just by the eye test watching this team. Last night against the Pacers is a great example. Tyrese Haliburton had 44 points on them, and with no Bam Adebayo after 10 minutes and no Tyler Hero at all, this Heat team put together 78 points in the second half to lead them to a victory that against a very, very great Pacers team, might I add. The stars have been doing their job on this team, but outside of that, the Heat culture is really starting to sink and spread into the new players and the existing players on the bench. A big part of this Miami Heat's team's success is the fact that Duncan is no longer just a spot-up shooter and an off-the-screen ball shooter. Duncan is now somehow a literal threat in the lane and off the dribble, and that's just a testament to his own work ethic. This season, he's the 4th leading scorer on the roster, averaging almost 15 points on 44% from downtown. If you guys remember, I want to say it was Game 6 or Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals last year, he kind of went off against Boston, and we're just seeing that almost on a nightly basis. Not that he's dropping 20 or 30 points on a nightly basis, but just that he's so much more polished and confident. The second glue guy I got to give a lot of love to is Jaime Jaquez Jr. He's tremendously talented, and he's averaging 12 points off the bench in around 25 minutes a night, and he shoots nearly 40% from the 3. He's also had multiple games where when he's given the opportunity with 30 plus minutes, he's able to score 20 plus points a night, and it's very, very great that he hasn't missed a single game this season. His game is very unique, and he kind of has a big guard tendency to him. I might get some flack or flame or laughs at this comment that I'm about to make because it is a remarkably strange comparison, but if you look at someone like LiAngelo Ball in high school, he kind of reminds me of him, but better. He can get into the paint, he can use his weight as a big guard and a big forward. He has a great back back to the basket game with solid footwork, but he also has a tight enough handle to create himself off the dribble while knocking down open shots. Again, I know that's a very wild comparison, but if you guys watched Leangelo Chino, you know exactly what I'm talking about, or even in the Latvian league that he played in. Obviously the competition wasn't that great, but you just kind of see that, you know, Jaime Jaquez's ability to be a big guard, it transfers to the pros. Outside of the 5 players that I just named, there's a lot of tremendous glue guys on this team. Kevin Love, who has championship experience and aspiration, he's coming off the bench as a forward, and he's always going to be a great outlet passer, great rebounder, great vocal guy. Then you have Kyle Lowry, who is also a championship winner, a championship point guard with the Raptors. He is a great passer. He's very scrappy, always diving on loose balls, willing to take a charge, get under people's skin. Kind of reminds me of Chris Paul in a way. Caleb Martin is also another guy on this team who may be like living down, I want to say, to expectations, because in the Eastern Conference Finals last season he was a stud. There's actually people arguing that he deserved the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. That's neither here nor there. I'm sure he'll turn it around at some point. Against the Bucks the other night, he did have a really solid game and was getting that Heat crowd electrified. And then Haywood Highsmith has taken a big jump into this, not starting unit, but just some nights he's starting, some nights he's coming off the bench. He's just taken a big jump in productivity. He's a great defender, and all in all, he just moves really solid out there with the Miami Heat. And they're all being coached by one of the league's best, Erik Spoelstra. Erik Spoelstra, I feel like I don't have to waste much time talking about this, but he is such a great coach. And one thing that stands out from him compared to a lot of other NBA coaches is when he's on the court, when he's off the court, when he's talking with the media, he's always very passionate about his team. He's willing to take the fines. He's willing to take the technicals. And sometimes that costs you, but you want to have a coach that's willing to die for you or kind of put themselves in front of the blow. And Erik Spoelstra is just that. This NBA team, the Miami Heat guys, they will probably be underrated as long as the Jimmy Butler era lives. I'm not really sure how they stack up against other teams, but I feel like I say that every single year, and they continue to produce time and time again. Basketball is really a game of runs, and right now the Heat have 3 players averaging 20 plus points. If they stay healthy, I really could see them making a run, especially if newer built teams like the Bucks or the Sixers or the Celtics are struggling out east. Now, obviously, I think out of those 3 teams, the Celtics have the best odds of making the NBA Finals, even though the Heat and the Celtics have had, 3 or 4 bouts in the last 4 years. So it's going to be very, very interesting postseason, guys. But as of right now, I feel like in the regular season, I can very, very, very confidently say that the Miami Heat are the most underrated team for sure. And the main reason I say that is because I feel like the Heat could be 20-40, or they could be 40-20, and the buzz around them would not change. It's like they're in this perfect sweet spot where there's almost no expectations, even though they've made the NBA Finals 2 times in the last 4 years. But what do you guys think? What do you think of this Heat team? What do you think of them in the postseason? What do you think of them in the regular season? Am I right that they're the most underrated? Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate your guys' support as always. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And here's to December, as I'm going to be uploading every month. God bless you guys. Peace.